A root cause problem solving team needs 3 action lists, not 1. And here's why. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And today's topic is action lists, and specifically the 3 action lists you're going to need in any root cause problem solving team. What I see way too often is that there is an action list in a template for problem solving. Oh, and by the way, if you want to get my template for a problem solving team, do go and check out the link in the description. But what I then see happening is this list of countermeasures to be implemented, these actions that come from your analysis list, is sort of abused as a team's action list. And then really things go wrong. So that's why I put also in my template 3 separate action lists, and they are for 2 stages in the whole problem solving and 1 global action list. So to go over them in short, there is the 1 action list that you just need for the team. This one will only contain the team organization actions. Then we have the temporary measures and the actual countermeasures, and those 2, they get onto a sort of an action list to be implemented in your organization. And they have a different way of checking it. In fact, all 3 of them have a slightly different way to check them, and that's what we're going to talk about here. Now, the thing that I see relatively often is that they become 1. If you make it all 1 action list, this gets totally blurred. And the thing here is, when you are doing a problem-solving analysis, when you are doing your brainstorming, but also the checks on the things that you had in your brainstorm, you need to go out into the field and check your hypotheses. You had something listed, especially during a brainstorm. You do not scratch any good ideas, but there is some serious doubt, and you decide as a team, let's go to the Gemba, to the shop floor, check out if this is correct or not. Those type of actions really go onto a team action list. So what you get here is your standard action list. So who is going to do what action, by when, and you check that it is done. Now the temporary action list also has this basic information, and that's more because, well, it still is an action that you need to implement, right? But the temporary action list really strongly focuses on what are we implementing now and when can we take it away. So it strongly has what are we really trying to do, and also specify against what are we trying to do it, because with that you can measure the effectiveness. So when you do both the countermeasures and the temporary countermeasures, you need to check afterwards, did what we just implement really take away the problem for now? And with temporary measures, it will often take away symptoms, but those are very painful symptoms, very expensive things or dangerous situations. You just need to remove them as soon as possible, which you will be much more able to do after you did your initial problem descriptions. So you did your 5W2H analysis, your is not analysis, and almost always that gives you new insights on what to focus your temporary countermeasures on. Because it's not just stopping the thing from happening, so not really correcting only what you see happening, but somewhere along the causal line, just putting a stop for now, introduce an extra check, make a small correction in your machine, quickly change to different settings or different material group. It almost always, and that's why they are temporary, it is either expensive or it limits your choice, or it prevents you of making even certain products for a limited period of time, but at least you save most of your operation. Now, you need to know if that had any effect. You need to know if you took away at least the symptoms, preferably somewhere in the line, sort of a cause. Not the root cause, but you took away some cause of your problem. But then also, and this comes at the end of the team, so This one remains open for quite some time until after you did your full analysis, implemented your countermeasures. Did we also remove this temporary countermeasure? A thing that is very often forgotten as well. Removing your expensive temporary countermeasures. Now, and then the third list are the actual countermeasures. They too have what are we trying to do and what effect is in there. And they also have who does it, when does it have to be done, your deadline. The check, they have some extra stuff here. How do we sustain it and how sustainable is this countermeasure? Use the things, and that's why they are later in that same problem-solving template. Use the 5 questions for 0 defect. So is it easy to set? Is it easy to check if the settings are correct? Does it change during a shift or during a week? Things like that. And did we train people at all? Is it now part of our daily habit? All such questions you really want to ask yourself before disbanding your problem-solving team. And the other one is the documentation. Where did we now fix it? Did we update all the instructions, reference charts? There might be some quality handbook reference charts that still have the old values, which is really not a good thing. It will also really hurt you during your next audit, but much more important is that when you quickly fix only those things that your team has direct working experience with, you may lose sight of those other documents that are in your overall system, and then you get differences. And later on, when someone else tries to tackle basically the same problem, or maybe some technologist wants to slightly change your process and they look into your documentation, they see conflicting values, and by that time the original team is gone. So like, okay, what's really happening? And you are not creating real standardization unless you make sure that you update all documentation. So for that, what I also advise you to do is bring this stage, this whole sustainability stage of the problem-solving 6 steps, bring it into an even broader multidisciplinary group. So bring it into a group of technologists and maintenance, mechanics, engineers, production people, your quality department, HR, and make sure that all of them see, with a presentation, with an A3, through a meeting, small update or so, like sort of a wrap-up of the team in a meeting, and make sure that they also check it. Or you can formalize it even further and have sort of a document control procedure where it really has to go through several steps, several people that really check. And now, if you update any official documents in your system, this probably is the way you do it. But still, even then, this is one of the reasons why you share the results of your problem-solving team. To trigger also, this, colleagues, is what we changed. It's not just, wow, what we found. It's also, these are the things that we changed. And we had some temporary countermeasures that now have to be removed again. So please, everyone, stop doing it that way. And we now have our final countermeasures. We've checked them. Maybe people don't agree. Very nice. Now you can still change it. And we've updated these in these documents. And then again, you have the chance that your colleagues will say, oh, but here is another thing that you need to change. Something that pops to mind is, for instance, the preventive maintenance orders that are often in your maintenance system. They are sort of removed in many organizations from the quality control system or from your recipe master or things like that. They also need to be updated. That is how your mechanics get their input. So that is part of the habits of your organization. Very important step. And that's why, in a nutshell, use the 3 different action lists. Make sure that the countermeasures are on their own separate list, checked, validated by management before spending money, but also validated by management after you say that you've reached your desired effect so that they can validate it. The temporary countermeasures, because also you need an okay on making probably some serious changes in the process. And you want to let people know this might cost some money, this is a change, who do we need to train? But also we're going to remove them once we have a final solution to our problem. And then you have the team action list where you put all those things even down to who is going to book the meeting room for the next meeting. That can go on the team action list, and hopefully most of the actions will be things like check the assumption that we made during the brainstorm, or run the lab test on the water quality that we decided, things like that, to really strengthen your analysis. But they are not yet part of the results of your team, they are part of the work. All the work goes into the general team action list. Now, for advice on action lists, I refer you to other videos. All of them basically follow the same basic rules, the smart way of defining actions. Make sure that you specifically state what you want. Make sure that you can measure its effect, and that you also have someone taking the action, so accepting the action. Make sure that everything you ask of them is realistic to do. Maybe they need some other team members or some resources outside of the team. Arrange it, and also make sure that it is time bound, so that you know by when is this going to happen. That's the short of it. 3 action lists in a root cause problem solving team. Now, if you liked this refresher, please don't forget to hit that like button. And also, if there is any other process or thing that you noticed within the root cause problem solving system, the method, or anything you have experienced in practice, do drop me a comment, let me know. I'll be happy to also answer them. For now, I wish you the best of luck in your problem solving efforts. And as always, don't forget to enjoy the problem solving journey.